Guys, it's Epic Underworlds, and in today's video, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to play Wrath of Kors TCG. This game is created by Chris, and shout out to his channel. Leave a link in the description, and a link in the description to his Discord server so you guys can join there and schedule matches on Untap or over Discord call or whatever. But this is going to be a pretty basic guide on how to play the game. If you guys have any questions, let me know, or of course you could ask Chris himself. But I am pretty well versed with the game, so I can probably answer any questions you have. But yeah, definitely go check out this game because it is one of the most fun HTCGs I've ever played. To play the game, you will need a deck. You can either get like a pre-con from the Game Crafter, or of course, if you're using Untap, that's all free. But I recommend the Witches pre-con because that one's actually pretty decent. Or you could just get a jumbo booster and upgrade your deck, or just get two of these and build your very own deck. I have quite a few deck profiles of some good Wrath of Kors decks. Then you'll need some way to track your health. You only need to track 10 health, so it's pretty easy. You can even use a dice or just paper. Then you also need some charges. All you really need is 10 of these, but you can honestly get away with like 5 or 6. But you can use these with dice. You can keep track of these with dice, but I prefer these little chits, which are really nice. I think he has the 2-player starter kit, which actually comes with these. So yeah, I definitely recommend getting that. And lastly, you will need one 6-sided dice for combat. Now, don't get put off by using dice as combat. It actually is really fun. So let me explain how to play. So first, let's get into deck rules. Your deck can be anywhere from 30 to 50 cards, and it can have only 2 royal rares. You can tell the rarity by right here. So you get 2 royal rares, and they have to be different. Or you can just not use royal rares, but I definitely recommend using Rhaenys or something. And then you can have 3 of every card, no matter what the rarity is, except royal rare. So you can have 3 of each rare, which, you know, it can be pretty overpowered, especially if you have 3 blood trees. But yeah, let's go over the anatomy of the card. So on the card, you have the cost. That is how many charges you must pay to play this card. That is the card type. There's Assault, Defense, and Reinforce currently in the game. That is what number you need to roll on the dice in order to hit. So this Loyal Ember Witch is pretty bad because you need to roll a 3 or higher, and I missed in that roll, but that would allow you to use your attack value. Then that's just some terminology, like that's the name of the card, and then like unit, human, witch, those are just some specifications. That is a counterattack. So basically, if what just happens, like if you're attacking your opponent's card and you miss on your attack roll, they can counterattack, which basically means they also roll. But if the counterattacker misses, then nothing happens. The other card doesn't get to counterattack. That is the card ability set, and what type of set it is. This is the Witch Wave, and then that's the card number. So all that really matters is the cost and the stats and the ability, and then of course these 2 numbers. So let's get into the other type of cards. There are action cards and battle cards. You can tell it's an action when it's right there. Actions you can play during your action phase, and then battle cards you can play during basically combat. So Floating Chest, you would basically just spend 1 charge and you can draw 2 cards. This is also a really good card. Like, this is really good, so I definitely recommend adding it to your deck. Then the most important card of your deck is your core. Now, most cores have like color specific types. Like, as you notice, each card is like a little cube here. That's what type the card is. I recommend using the beta core because then you can use every single card type in the game, no matter what color it is. If you use like cores like the Night Core, you can only use like cards that have a little gray box on them. So I definitely recommend the beta core so you don't have to worry about that restriction. But the core goes in the middle of your mat, and it basically has an ability, but the ability has a requirement. So when you have 10 cards in your discard pile, you can basically free play 1 card from your hand, and that is what makes the beta core so good. So I definitely recommend putting it in your deck. So this is essentially what a setup would look like. You have your life counter, your deck, your core, and then your dice in charge. So basically how the game goes, you have 3 assault slots. Now you can even play with a playmat, but you have 3 assault slots, so that's where you can play your assault units. You have 2 reinforce slots. Not many people use reinforce unit, but they basically buff the card above them. So you can't switch lanes for your assault units if you want. Let's say your unit right here died. You can't just move your assault unit from there so it gets reinforced. They have to stay in the lanes they are. So you have 2 reinforced units, and then you have 3 defensive units. So 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. And those basically allow your opponent to not attack your core normally. And then here's your charges. So let's go over the starting game. To start the game, either flip a coin or roll a dice. Let's say odds are I go first. I rolled an odd, so I get to go first. Now, because I won the roll, I can choose to go first or second. I honestly prefer going second, but it's up to you. Okay, so going first, each player draws 5 cards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now that I have my 5 cards, I also start with 2 charges, and then I gain 2 charges each turn. So it's turn 1, so I gain 2 charges. So I have 4 charges at the start, and so does my opponent. So now I can play some cards. Now, I cannot afford the 8-cost Reynas quite yet, but I can play 2 1-cost cards. So I basically take these 2 charges, put them aside, and I can play these 2 cards. This card basically says draw 2 cards, so I would put this one in my dead zone, and I draw 2. And then this one says look at the top 3 cards of your deck, take 2, and put the last one in your dead zone. So 1, 2, 3. As you can see, the card draw in this game is pretty good. So I'm going to take these 2 and put this one in my dead zone. So that is what I basically am going to do with my turn, but I also have a 0 cost that I can play. So 0 costs, you don't even have to pay a charge, you can just play him right away. So this guy is an assault unit, so I'm going to play him in this assault zone because he's pretty weak, so I'm probably not even going to reinforce him in the future, so I don't have to worry about that. Getting into combat, so this is my board state, as you guys could see. I played this card. The person going second would, of course, start with 2 charges, and then they would gain 2 for their turn. And then they would draw their card. So going second, you do get to draw extra card, so that's kind of a buff of going second. You also cannot attack on the first round of the game, which is pretty understandable. Also, going second, you can attack, but on going first, you cannot attack on the first round of the game. But now let's get into combat. So let's say, for example, my Undead Knight is attacking my opponent's Wandering Assassin. I can obviously kill their Wandering Assassin because I have 2 attack, and their Wandering Assassin only has 1 health. Even if their Wandering Assassin would have 2 health, I could still be able to attack them and not die. Unless I failed the attack, then they can counterattack. So I do need a 3 to hit, so let's roll the dice. I rolled a 5, so I did manage to kill their Wandering Assassin. Now their core is now exposed, so next turn, if they don't play any assault units or defensive units, I can attack their core directly, and if I hit, I only do 1 damage. Even if you have 10 attack, you can only do a max of 1 damage to their core per creature. Let's say I had 3 creatures attacking, I would still, and they all hit, I could do 3 damage to their core. A few other weird rules, or not real, but specific rules. Let's say I had 2 creatures here. They can both target the same card, but let's say one failed. That unit could still counterattack before they would die. So that's just something to note. Now you might be wondering, okay, so what are defensive units? Like, what's all the hype about these guys? Well, defensive units you play here, they don't have an attack boost, or they don't even have attack in general. They just have a health box, and you play them right here. You have 3 zones, and basically, your opponent cannot attack your core directly until they get rid of all of your defensive units. They can attack it if you have like 3 assault units, because nobody's defending the core. So you must have a defensive unit here in order to block like someone attacking you. So yeah, sometimes it's tempting to kill the assault units before you attack the core directly, but as a rule of thumb, you should probably attack the core directly because that's what you're trying to get at. So now that we have went over defensive, let's go over a few other topics. For example, reinforced cards. Now reinforced cards have an attack stat, but that really doesn't matter. They can't attack. They basically just buff the card above them. Like this one says, the reinforced unit can attack the enemy core directly without having to go through defensive units. So that's a pretty good reinforced unit, so I would just put it there. And let's say I played Undead Knight there, he can now attack the core directly. So that is pretty good. The way your opponent kills them is by just taking down their health. They just attack it normally, but reinforcements do not block the core, only defensive units do. Now let's get into wonders. These are pretty awesome cards, this one being the Blood Tree. So you can only have 1 wonder in play at a time, and so this one I would have to pay 5 charges, and boom, I can play it. You put it off to the side, and its effects are now there. The only way to really counter a card like that, as so far in the meta, is with the card Blossoming Sakura. So yeah, that is just something to note. Now, if you wanted to play another wonder, now don't quote me on this because I've never really done this, but I'm pretty sure that if you place a new wonder, the other one just disappears. Also, your opponent can also have a wonder in play, so it's not just a one-time thing. But yeah, that was how to basically play Wrath of Kors. If you guys have any questions, let me know, or of course you can ask Chris, the creator of the game. But that was this video, and I'll see you in the next Epic Underworlds video.